Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Evolve with Emily show. I am your host, Emily Hayden, and today I could not be more excited to introduce our guest. She is a transformational coach for women, a speaker, an author of Women, Motherhood, and Independence. She is the creator of The Goddess Diary and founder of the Goddess Awakening Experience. She works with women all around the world and uses feminine energy to help women rewire their brains, awaken their bodies so that they can have better relationships with themselves, their partners, while creating the life that they desire. So everybody, please welcome today's guest, Penelope. Penelope, welcome to today's show.
Hi, Emily, and thank you for having me. Thank you so much. And hello, everyone.
Of course.
I'm so excited.
Me too. So, okay, will you tell us where do you live? What is your background? Give us just a little insight into you, where you were born, and, what kind of brought you to where you're at today.
I am Greek. I live in Europe in a tiny, tiny country called Cyprus. We are very close to Greece and Turkey. I speak Greek as my primary language and English is my secondary language. And I wasn't always a life coach. I grew up and my career was in corporate, actually. I was 20 years in corporate.
Wow.
And I resigned when I was 40 years old. I am 50 now. Wow. I just turned 50. And I love working with women. I love working with women. I love helping women understand how the mind is creating the results that we are currently have, how our thoughts are creating our results.
Yeah, wow, that's so good. I want to ask you about that transition from corporate. Like, for people listening that maybe they are 40 years old and they're working in corporate, that would be such a huge life change to make. So how were you able to have the confidence and the courage to leave everything that you've always known and to start your own business? What was the thing that allowed you to really take action on that? Because I can only assume there must have been some fear, some uncertainty, things that you had to face like that. So how were you able to make that shift?
Well, in 2013, I was a private banker. And the bank that I used to work went bankrupt. They bailed in the bank to save basically the rest of the banks, not to have the domino effect. And it was a terrible period to work in corporate and to have that kind of job because people, they lost everything. They've lost their savings. And you can imagine the environment and the negativity and the aggressiveness. And because of my position, I was bringing work at home. And back then I had a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. And they woke up one night with my son 2 a.m. screaming, "Not mommy, leave mommy, no mommy." And by the time I got him to relax and go back to sleep, my daughter woke up crying. And I remember it like yesterday. I sat on the steps of the stair, on the top step, and I said, "This is it, you have to go. You have no right to bring all this toxicity, all this stress in your family," because I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't resting, I was always on my phone, on my laptop to see what we can do. We couldn't do anything, but at least to communicate with our clients. And this is when I decided that I didn't want this life. I mean, I wanted a happy marriage, and my marriage wasn't in a good space because of that. And I didn't want my kids to grow up with a mom that she was always nervous, always angry, in anxiety because of her work. And I wasn't enjoying my work. It was influencing everything.
Wow.
And this is when I've left. And yes, there was a lot of uncertainty because it's a huge step from a structured environment and work to the unknown. Basically, you have to put the boundaries, you have to focus, you have to learn everything from scratch.
And while you were making this shift, going from, that certain place with a lot of structure and that paycheck coming in every, couple of weeks, I can only imagine that, embracing something completely new, maybe there was a mentor in your life, maybe you were reading a book, maybe you were getting advice from somebody. So where were you learning how to navigate this new season from?
Yeah, definitely personal development mentors. I was a student of Tony Robbins for years.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And I was following Tony Robbins. I've been to many seminars of his. And then I got involved with, I've understood the feminine energy and the masculine energy and how we start becoming more masculine, especially in a corporate environment, to survive and to excel in our careers and to be trusted. So there was this myth that you need to be more masculine. And because I was feeling this stiffness and in my body, because I was trying to navigate everything to achieve my goals, I was a goal-oriented, let's just say, woman. Nothing wrong with that. But I was under the wrong impression that I had to become masculine. And with certain seminars, lots of books, I've started to understand that it wasn't the way to move forward. So I went more into understanding why I feel the way I feel, why I don't feel fulfilled, why sometimes I feel numb inside, why when I don't feel safe, something else triggers. So it was all personal development, all for me to understand what's going on in my mind. And this is when I've started training to become a life coach as well.
I love that. I think oftentimes our purpose is born out of a pain that we personally experience. And I think what you're communicating here is something that a lot of people relate to. And everyone on my podcast, everyone that listens to it, I believe are very high achieving and goal oriented. And, I come from the fitness industry space and more specifically the bodybuilding space, where it does require just such a doing version, right? You're just stuck in the doing and the execution and the discipline, which are amazing and they help you reach your goals. But I definitely have experienced in my life as well that sometimes without even realizing it, you can be operating fully in your masculine all the time, not giving space for that feminine to come out. So I love that, through your experience, you were able to say this way of living is not serving the best version of even myself, let alone my family. And I think a lot of people, they want these external goals like a happy marriage, a happy family, the things outside of themselves, yet they won't look inward, and inward is actually where it begins. So I love that throughout your journey, you've been able to, 1, have personal experience, 2, get your own training, and then now 3, be able to share that with other people. So for those that are listening right now that are really identifying with this, saying, you know what, I think I'm stuck in my masculine. What are some ways that you help your clients start to tap into their feminine energy? And are there some practical things that we can do to start to foster and cultivate the feminine side of us?
Yes, they are. First of all, we need to understand that both men and women, we have feminine and masculine traits. But as women, we have more feminine than masculine. But the world we live in has conditioned us to believe that feminine is weak. Feminine, if you are too feminine, is not good for business. So what happens is that we try to push down our emotions because women, it's all about feelings, it's all about expression. But we think that if we are allowed to show our feelings, we are weak, we are not be taken seriously in a meeting, we won't excel in our careers. So I will say what I do with my clients is that we start to explore the feelings. What feelings have you been suppressing for so long? Because when you suppress, when you push, when you try to ignore, it's going to be a time that's going to come up eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be either, God forbid, with health issues, or you're going to start maybe drinking more, eating more, trying to escape and try to find that happiness, that and feel that emptiness, stop that emptiness inside. That's why lots of people, when they feel sad, when they feel frustrated, they end up going shopping sprees, or they are gambling, they are having affairs, they are eating more, they start drinking more, taking substances. So one of the biggest practices and tools that I use is to start understanding what's going on inside. And once we gain clarity around that, then we can start processing it. We can start observing and learning about the stories that we have been telling ourselves, and we believe them as true. Because, Emily, we believe that it's our circumstances that they are giving us the results that we have or don't have. So we blame our circumstances. The truth is, circumstances are neutral.
Wow, that's good.
It's our thoughts about our circumstances.
That's good.
That they're giving us the results that we have at this moment.
I love what you said there about the stories that we are telling ourselves, right? And I feel like a good example of that is even in communication within relationships or close, intimate relationships, right? Someone says something and then people attach a meaning to it. And then all of a sudden they have a story about what this means, when in reality that other person was never trying to communicate that. So when helping people identify the stories that they're telling themselves, how do you help them break through that limiting belief, so to speak? If they believe that they are where they are because of their circumstances and environments, how do you help them to break free from that and to actually choose a new mindset and a new perspective?
I help them to see the stories. I help them to identify their stories. I help them to understand what their thoughts and their stories are creating right now. Because this is what's happening. I have this thought, and this thought is causing me a certain feeling. And when I feel this way, I can either take an action, I react, or I do nothing. And because I am doing any one of these things or all these things together, I am creating the result that I don't want. So once we go through this process, then we say, okay, let's choose a neutral thought right now. I'm not taking them immediately to the positive thought, because the mind is going to resist. The mind's job is to protect us, even if it works against us. So if we are suffering right now, the mind says, it's okay, it's fine. I know what to expect. Even though if you're suffering, the suffer.
Wow, that's so good. Because I feel like a lot of people are stuck in that. They're stuck in this cycle of suffering and they can't get out and they don't realize why. But I believe it's exactly what you're mentioning, because it's predictable and it's safe because your mind knows what to expect with it.
Exactly. So by going into a neutral thought, the mind says, okay, I can handle this. Let's explore this. Let's see, let's find out. And from the neutral thought, we start to work and build a positive one. But first, you can't jump from negative to totally positive. That's why you start something, you're getting excited, and then you stop, because the mind is telling you it won't happen, it's not possible, you can't do it. Let's go back where we were. We know what to expect. Let's sit here. It's just fine.
Yeah, and this kind of goes into just self-sabotaging. And I think a lot of
Exactly.
people, they can't really identify why they're self-sabotaging. So when you find a client is self-sabotaging, what are some things that you are able to do with them to help them recognize their self-sabotaging behavior and to choose something better?
I like to ask lots of questions.
Okay.
And my most common question is why. I hold the space for my clients to feel safe. So they know that they can tell me and it's okay. I won't sympathize with them. I won't encourage them to continue to live the villain story, the poor me story. I am holding the space for them, and personally, I am staying neutral. So, and with questioning what they are telling me, question after question, and I follow a setup, a sequence of questions, depending on what they want to work on. I help them to understand that actually they are self-sabotaging themselves and they are holding themselves back.
Wow.
And also, I help them to understand that negative emotions are okay to have because life is 50-50. You can't be happy all the time.
That's very true.
There are times that you are happy, and there are other times that you are sad, you are frustrated, you have fears. The thing is, when you are in this sadness, how do you handle it? How do you deal with it? That's the trick. Not to try to avoid it, not to try to change it, but stay there, process it, become very curious about it, see the patterns that you have when you are in this state, allow that negative energy to go through your body, and then you can move on.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're stuck.
That's so good. Because there's a lot of times when I feel like, negative emotion tries to come up, and often I think a response can be, let's just not feel this. Let's go to the positive and almost pretend that it's not here. But exactly what you're saying is that those negative emotions and energy actually gets trapped in the body. And when that happens, it's like we put on this backpack that we have to carry throughout our lives, and it just feels so heavy. And kind of back to what you were saying earlier is that eventually it all comes out. And I can definitely attest to this. I recognized an earlier part of this year that all of my healthy modalities that I used for like healthy wellness and living and good mental health, I realized that the intention behind those things at a certain point shifted from doing them because they were truly good for me to all of a sudden I was doing them to avoid pain that I was feeling. So even though I was numbing, so to speak, with healthy coping mechanisms, at the end of the day, I recognized the switch in intention. And I really recognized, wow, I'm doing these things to avoid the pain that I'm feeling. And so I actually had to stop the healthy coping mechanisms and just allow myself to feel and allow myself to process. And it is a very difficult thing to do because when you choose to feel, especially when you haven't chosen to feel in a long time, it's a lot. And it sometimes is very painful. But what I found is that those very painful moments, if you're willing to work through them, can bring a lot of clarity to your situation. And that is powerful because then from there, you can choose to make a shift and a change in your life, which I think, everyone at a certain point, has to make changes in their lives in order to get to the life that they truly desire for themselves. So when you're helping people navigate through these, personal development things that they're going through, and they're seeking to create, better relationships within their romantic partners, what is kind of like a common struggle that you see when women come to you when it comes to their partner and just the relationship that they desire, and then the like struggle or the gap in between where they're at and where they want to go? Do you have like some commonalities of what you see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I am guilty for that as well.
Awesome.
At a point.
Sure, I am too.
Yeah. Well, a common problem that exists is, I want to change him. I want to change her.
Yeah, that's so true.
So we want to change our partners, but we can't. The only person which can change is ourselves. You cannot change your partner unless he chooses or she chooses to change. So the minute I point this and I say, you cannot change him. But why I can't change him? Because you can't. The only person you can change is you. Yeah, but how is he going to pay more attention to me? That's the other question. Or how is he going to approach me if he doesn't change? And basically is by changing yourself, by working on yourself. And I think we've mentioned this earlier on, by working inwards, authenticity, confidence, openness, vulnerability, embrace all this, your energy will change. And people want to be around positive energy. When you become more feminine, a truly masculine man, or in same-sex relationship, let's just say two women, one will be more masculine than the other. So the masculine part of the relationship, if it's the same-sex relationship, will be drawn by the feminine. If you have two masculine forces try to have polarity, it won't happen. And at the beginning, when I was into my masculine a lot, my husband was, we said, okay, we need a keyword or something to remind me. And he was going, hey, little man, I am the man in this house.
I love that. Hey, little man. That's so cute.
I was like, oh, okay. At the beginning, you have to remind yourself because you are conditioned to go there, to be tough. Because you think the toughest you are, the more equal you will be, or the more people will appreciate you, and you will have the promotion, and you will have the success. The opposite happens. The more you come back into your feminine power, the more successful you become, the better your relationship becomes, more polarity, more passion. So everything starts with you.
Yeah.
Work on yourself. And this is, I say to my clients, okay, you want to change your relationship? Let's start with yourself. Why? I'm fine. Yes, I know you're fine, but everything starts with you.
Yeah, that's so good. And earlier you mentioned how being in your feminine is actually very powerful. People have this misconception that the masculine is more powerful. But in reality, when you're tapped in with how you were originally created, that's when you're the most powerful. So what is so powerful about the feminine energy and how that relates to and is a polarity of the masculine?
Authenticity, your confidence. Because when you are authentic, you are in your true confident power. You know who you are. You know how capable you are. You know that you can lead with clarity, with purpose. You know that you can find the solutions you're seeking for. When you're in your feminine, it means that you take time to nurture yourself, which means your stress levels are low. You are in the health industry, your stress levels are low. It means that you are becoming more creative, more productive. And that's why you start thriving in all the other areas. You are the core. We are the core of everything. The more great we feel inside out, all the other areas, our relationships, our health, our careers, money, everything will fall into place.
That's really beautiful. And what do you think about for people who they recognize that they are not happy and they are not thriving, and they feel that their environment is really impacting them. Maybe it's a workplace that is very toxic. Maybe it's the actual city in which they live in. It doesn't do anything for them. It doesn't inspire them. It doesn't give them creativity. And they know that they need to make a shift in their environment. How impactful do you think it is to have an environment that cultivates and creates a version of you that is inspired, that is happy and positive? Like, how important is our environment?
It's very important. And that's why we need to learn to set up boundaries to protect ourselves, and also to declutter our lifestyle. Because I can see it from myself. When my office is a mess, I cannot work. I think, correct me if I'm saying the wrong word, but I think it's like staggered energy, stale energy.
Yes.
So nothing is moving. There is no creativity. There is no productivity, nothing. It's like something is wrong. The minute I get rid of things that I had to do ages ago, I delete things, I go through stuff, then I feel more productive. Same happens with our mind. We need to declutter our mind. We need to spring clean, let's just say, our mind. So the more you put everything on paper, and this is an exercise that I do with my clients, write everything on paper, do a thought download. Let's just say your work environment is toxic, doesn't fulfill you, and you feel all this negativity going on. Put on a piece of paper all of your thoughts, every single one of it, and don't try to be grammatically correct or forget grammar, forget syntax. Just put everything on paper. The minute you do it, you will feel like a big, heavy load. It's gone from here. It's all on paper. And now go through it and start circling the thoughts that you have, the negative thoughts that you have, and start questioning them. Is this true? What can I do differently? What will change if I change my job, for example? Because even if you change your job and you don't change your stories and your thoughts, it's exactly the same. You're going to take it with you to the other job, and you're going to have the same problem and the same challenges.
Yeah. And I think that just speaks to how powerful the mind is. And I think that's why a lot of people do get stuck in patterns and cycles, no matter who they date, no matter where they work. They always find themselves in the same cycles. And I feel like some people really struggle to break that cycle. So what I'm hearing from you is that in order to actually break the cycle, we really have to change our mind and change our thoughts about our situation before we actually try to just create a whole new reality with a new situation.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, I want to switch a little bit more into the relationship side of things. So I know you help a lot of women with their personal development work on themselves, and that really greatly impacts, their relationships. I wanted to know if you happen to have any advice for maybe some people that are still looking for their ideal partner. So they're in the market, they're dating, they're looking for their ideal partner. Do you have any advice or tips for choosing wisely? I feel like I hear a lot of the time, I'm a bad picker, right? Like people feel that they are bad pickers of people. So is there any direction you could give us when looking for a partner that would be ideal for us? We are about to talk about how to attract your ideal partner, but before we do, I wanted to share a product from Cured Nutrition that I have been loving recently called Serenity. Their Serenity Gummies is a new product. It is a mixture of CBD, microdose THC, functional mushrooms, and adaptogens. This product will help you to reach an inner state of peace and serenity. So whether you're going throughout your crazy workday and you want to relieve a little bit of stress, anxiety, maybe overwhelm, or it's simply just the end of your workday and you're looking to relax and unwind, this would be a product that you can take at any time simply by taking 1 or 2 gummies. I personally love to take it as a part of my relax and unwinding routine. I'll take some gummies, hit a sauna session, maybe a cold plunge, a meditation, or a mixture of those things, whatever I'm feeling like I need for that day. And it's a really incredible way for me to step out of the stress, anxiety, and overwhelm of the day's demands and into an inner peaceful state of presence. That's really what it does for me, is it helps me to be very present. A few of the main ingredients that I wanted to share with you guys are the full spectrum CBD, which supports stress management and overall balance within the body, L-theanine, which relaxes the brain without inducing drowsiness while improving critical attention and enhancing mental alertness. The reishi encourages healthy cortisol levels and provides stress support. Ashwagandha supports balanced stress states in the body and promotes relaxation. So all of these ingredients together truly do create such an inner state of peace and serenity. If you guys would like to try this product out, you can go to curednutrition.com/Emily Hayden and use coupon code Emily Hayden at checkout. That's CURED nutrition.com/Emily Hayden and coupon code Emily Hayden at checkout. Now back to today's show.
The first thing I'm going to say is be careful what you're saying because I am a bad picker. It's a thought. Mm-hmm. And you will going to choose a man that it won't be a good fit for you to justify that thought.
So good. Okay, so everyone listening, get rid of that thought. I've heard it a few times now. So if that is a thought of yours, if you relate to what was just said, work on getting rid of that thought and choose a new thought to put in there, which hopefully you can help us navigate through.
Yeah. So lots of people are saying, have your ideal man image and, just see it projected, the law of attraction. I love the law of attraction. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say, imagine yourself feeling the feelings when you meet someone that you really like. You see the traits that you want. What are the feelings? How do you feel? Remember, the feminine, it's all about feelings. Mm. The more you feel it in your body, the more you attract that energy, that right energy for you. And keep working on your thoughts instead of, I will never find the right guy. I am sure my guy or my girl is out there and is waiting for me to find him or find her. And feel that thing. Be 100%, believe it, 100%. Have the feeling, that powerful feeling that I am so happy because I know he's there and I am going to meet him.
And I think it's something that we can all choose to embody, because it's really easy just to get discouraged when you've gone through heartbreak, which everyone here listening has gone through that, But I think really just recognizing the fact that, what the energy and the mindset and thoughts that you're putting out into the world is what you receive back, I think can really help to empower us to adopt that kind of mentality when looking for a partner.
Yes, and also, Emily, be that woman that will attract that man. And be that woman now. Embody that woman now. How does she dress? How does she behave? What are her thoughts? How does she speak? And I'm not talking about pretending and being authentic. Mm-hmm. I am talking about this woman that is going to attract this kind of man. She is confident. Mm-hmm. So if I am not confident, and if I'm trying to find validation outside myself, how am I going to attract that man? Mm. I am going to attract the man, the partner that it won't be right fit for me, and me seeking that validation continuously. Mm. So again, it starts with us.
Yeah. How can somebody become aware if they are seeking a validation? Maybe they are seeking validation, but they're unaware to it. What are maybe some signs that we may be seeking validation from other people?
One sign is people pleasing. We are people pleasing. We become people pleasers so they can accept us, they can give us compliments, they can include us. So, and it's a very, very no. You shouldn't people please. But we do it, and women tend to do it more because we have that insecurity and we have fears that are driving us to do this. So if we believe we are not good enough, then we are afraid that we won't be loved unless we say yes to other people's requests. So they won't believe that we don't know, that we are not good, that, all this negativity again and all these negative thoughts. So one way to understand if you're seeking validation is, are you people pleasing continuously?
And for the people pleasers out there, how can we stop people pleasing? What is maybe a mindset, right? Because when I look at that, and I've definitely gone through this in my own life, and it's still something that I, have to really keep myself in check over. But what is a mindset that someone can adopt to understand that it's okay and actually good to set boundaries and not people please? Because I think a lot of people please with a good heart that like they want to make everyone feel good. They just don't realize it's at the sacrifice of themselves. So maybe what is a way that we can think about not people pleasing anymore? A way where it's like, okay, this makes sense that this is better for us and everyone else around us to not people please.
Yes, because one way is to ask yourself, how do you feel when you people please? Do you feel happy? Do you have energy? Do you feel powerful when you people please? Or do you feel stressed? Because people pleasing is stressful. You need to think continuously what to say. You are filtering everything, and it's tiring. You're filtering every single sentence. So you won't offend the other person. You always say the right words. Now, I was going to say, but when you people please, people are taking you for granted. So you are creating the opposite result that you want, basically.
Yeah, wow. And do you think people pleasing comes from a place of insecurity?
Yes. Insecurity, negative belief systems, conditioning. It's difficult to stop this habit, but you must. And it's going to be scary. I'm not going to lie to you, and I'm going to say it's going to be easy, especially in a relationship. If you people please your partner continuously, when you start setting boundaries and when you start saying no, it's gonna trigger lots of fear. What if he or she leaves me? What if we have fights? What if? And this again is the mind trying to make you not do it because it's the unknown. And the best thing to do is honest communication. I feel that I am giving too much. I am not looking after myself. I want to, let's just say I've decided to take 1 hour off every day to nurture myself. And by doing this, I mean, I'm going to the gym. I am going to a dancing lesson. I'm going out with my girlfriends to have a glass of wine. I'm going on a spa day. And you tell them, and it's non-negotiable, I need this. And someone who loves you and you communicate it right, they won't say no.
Ooh, so if somebody does say no, that would be a big red flag.
Yes and no. Maybe he doesn't want to change because remember, when you people please, their lives become very easy. Their lives become easy. You're doing everything. It means they need to become uncomfortable
I see.
as well. They need to change as well, and they might not be ready to change. Don't try to change them. You can't. Be honest with yourself. What do you want? Do you want to be a doormat, or do you want to be a partner in a relationship? What is more fulfilling?
That's good. And I think it kind of goes back to what you were mentioning earlier with just assessing how you feel. If the listeners are listening and they know that they're that doormat in a relationship right now, I'd encourage you to do what Penelope said earlier and really write down all of your feelings about how that actually feels. And when you realize that you're not living a fulfilled, happy, peaceful, thriving life, then you can really take a look at, some of these things and say, okay, how can I start to make small changes in a way that leads me to the path of fulfillment and healthy relationships? What about for people that really struggle to verbalize and communicate what they need from a partner? Maybe they've just always suppressed their own voice. Do you have any sort of tips or advice for somebody that wants to start using their voice, but because of it, they've suppressed it for so long, it's difficult for them to really voice how they truly feel and what they really need?
At the beginning of my relationship with my husband, because we come from different cultures, and I speak Greek, he speaks English. At the beginning, there was misunderstandings in communication.
I have found that even with partners who speak English like me. It sounds like Chinese.
So what I did was I wrote emails to him, and I told him how I felt, because I felt more confident in writing, and I put everything on paper. I was never accusing him. Our listeners, don't point the finger. You did this, so I did this. This will never work. It was going to go to defensive stance or aggressive. Just be honest how you feel. Not you're making me feel weak. I feel weak because I think this when you're doing this. And maybe I am taking it wrong, because remember, we create stories around everything. It might be a misunderstanding. It might be miscommunication. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Communicate how you feel. Tell them how you feel, either verbally or in writing. And then you, based on what they have to say or how they react, then you decide how you want to move on.
And I think that is a really powerful piece, is you decide how you want to move on, because I think a lot of people go into a conversation and they know what they need and want, and they are going to express it, but they allow somebody else's response or their words to dictate what they do, rather than their own needs, desires, and also their own core values. So I think that's a really important piece that you mentioned there. One thing that is very helpful when it comes to communication, and it's just something that I've learned, is really asking the question, what did you hear me say? Right? Yeah. So if I say,
great question.
I went to the store and I grabbed this and that for you and, whatever. Okay, what did you hear me say in that? It's like, well, I heard you say that you don't have time for me and that groceries is more important than me. And it's like, whoa, that is not what I meant. Let's try this again. What did you hear me say? Or going back to what you mentioned earlier, which was, what is the story that you're telling yourself? Or even asking that to yourself, like, what is the story that I am telling myself? And, is this true?
Yeah, great questions to ask yourself and your partner. And also, when arguments arise, and don't concentrate only on what not working in your relationship, because we tend to go straight to the bad things, to the things that are wrong. Instead, ask yourself, what is great about this man? What is great about this woman? What makes me truly happy in this relationship? Concentrate on the good stuff as well, not just the bad ones. It changed the whole way you see things and how you're going to handle things.
I think in addition to that, one kind of thought or mindset that I think is important to have too is to say, what would this entire situation look like if I were to assume the very best about my partner and to assume that they love me and they're trying their absolute hardest? What would the story look like then? Because I think very often people paint the other person as a villain in their story and as somebody who's out to get them. And that can definitely create just such a different experience than if we assume the best of our partners. Yeah, so I want to go into a little bit of work-life balance. I know that you work with a lot of very high-level women in the workspace who are, seeking to have work-life balance. So maybe share a little bit of what is a common struggle that you see with some of your clients, and how do you help them move and take steps towards work-life balance?
Many women believe that it's either or. Either you have the personal happy life, the happy relationship, you spend time with your family, and your career takes the second or the third priority on your priority list, or I have the successful career, but my marriage is doomed, and I don't pay too much attention to my kids. And it's not true. You can create the right balance for you. And another mistake we are making is that we believe there is a set standard for all of us as a balance. And no, it's based on your circumstances. And you put certain techniques and tools in place. You prioritize things. You don't say yes all the time. You set boundaries. And you create a structure that supports the lifestyle and the balance that you want.
Yeah, I think that's really beautiful, because I think sometimes we have this really concrete way of thinking. It's almost like thinking in a box of either you go to school and you get a career and you're this successful businesswoman, or you're the stay-at-home mom who has the children, takes care of the home. And sometimes it feels like that either or. And so I think it's really empowering to hear that we're actually in control and can create whatever kind of balance it is that best suits us, because I've definitely seen some friends that have gone straight into building a family and doing that life, realizing that they're really missing and desiring some purposeful work that is outside of the family as well. And, I think that it's really beautiful, whichever path people choose, but I just agree that it doesn't have to be a one size fits all. Do you deal with women who maybe they want kids, maybe there's some women that don't want kids, and do they feel pressure around these things of, having to have a certain lifestyle or check the boxes, so to speak? And if so, what are some ways that you help them identify what they truly want versus what they think they should be doing?
Yeah. I have clients like that, and I have friends also. And, our family and friends, they expect us to be like them. And people expect us to be like them. Lots, depending what culture you live in, what beliefs exist. The religion, all this, they try to say to you, you need to grow up, maybe have a successful career, have a family, raise kids, support your husband. You need to do all this. It's your duty as a woman. And this is where you say no. My duty as a woman is to have the things that makes me happy. So some women are born to become mothers. They want to be mothers. And they want to be at home, raise their kids. Motherhood is a very difficult job description, I'm going to say. It's a very difficult role. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to be a mother because you want it, not what others want for you. So, yes, what I usually say is, what do you want? What life do you want to live? What life do you want to have? I don't want kids. Okay, you don't want kids. Yes, but my parents will be devastated. Yeah, but you are not your parents, for example. Your parents, our parents made their decisions. They created their life. Now we have our life. And we need to create our life that is going to be the life that we want, that we will feel fulfilled. We will feel happy. We will feel challenged. And when we are challenged, we will know that we will find a way to make it happen, to change our circumstances, to change our circumstances. But imagine if you don't want kids, and because you feel pressured, you have a kid. Are you going to be 100% a good mother to that kid? Are you going to give yourself fully? Because we are responsible. As parents, we are responsible to raise kids, to give them everything. It's a big responsibility. What will happen? You might have a resentment or a resistance, and you are going to hold back. And it's not fair for you and for that child.
Yeah, and I think
Did I answer your question?
It does. Yeah, it does. I think it's really helpful just to help people think through, the reasons why they truly want something. Is it truly something that you desire, or is it something that you just feel that you have to do or should do because of the way that you grew up or the pressures of society? So I love the breakdown that you gave us there. I would like to know from you, what are two things that you think are just the most beautiful things about motherhood? They don't have to be the top two, because I'm sure there's a lot, but maybe just the first two things that come to your mind that just make motherhood so beautiful to you.
I'm going to give you the first that came to mind when you asked me this question, and it's the hug that I get from my son. Every morning when he goes to school. He's 15 years old.
Oh my goodness.
And it's the hug that I get from my daughter in the morning to come tell me good morning. And she hugs me so tight, and she grounds herself around me. That's a great thing for motherhood. And the other is, motherhood challenges you to become a better version of you.
Wow. That's like
especially now in teenage years.
Oh gosh. Oh man, I bet. My dad, he has 7 children, but 6 in addition to me. So 7 children total. Wow. 5 women and 2 men. So
poor guy.
Oh yeah, and he had a ton of teenagers all at once. So I'm sure my dad would definitely relate to you. But we definitely, don't worry. We gave him the challenge he needed to be the next stronger version of himself. Okay, so I want to talk about, and this is kind of a very general concept, but I want to talk about happiness. A lot of people are searching for happiness in their life. All they want is to be and to experience happiness. And they sometimes set these goals of like, okay, when I'm able to buy this house, when I'm able to get this car, when I get married, when I meet my ideal person, then I'm going to be happy. What do you believe about happiness and this way of thinking?
If you are always say, when I do this, I will be happy, you will never be happy. This is what I say. Because our life's so short, unfortunately. So we must start enjoying what we have in front of us and feel happy with what we have right now. So if today I wake up and even the smallest thing happens and it's a win, celebrate it. Celebrate it like you won a client that is going to give you $1 million. Celebrate it with force, with passion, be grateful. And also, don't chase happiness. Chase experiences. Chase living every moment to be present. Because happiness for me, as I said before, it's a hug from my kids. It's when my husband comes and gives me a kiss. When he was out today and he came back with the coffee from my the coffee shop that I love. That's for me. It was wow. I was so happy because he thought about me.
Yeah.
Find the joy in the small moments. And once you start appreciating these things, you will feel more and more happy. I say we have emotional tank. Our emotional tank will become fuller when we start appreciating the small things, and we feel happy with the small things every single day. I used to have a gratitude journal because, again, I was saying to myself, when I get the promotion, I will celebrate. When I get the promotion, I will be happy. When I have the house, I will be happy. When I have the car, I will be happy. And I've started having this gratitude journal. And every single day, I was writing 5 things that I was feeling grateful and happy. And at the beginning, it was difficult to find 5 things.
Wow.
But after almost a year doing this, it's so easy to find the little things that makes you happy rather than the big lavish lifestyle.
Yeah, that's so good and so important, because if we have that kind of mentality, then we really truly are able to experience joy and happiness on the way to these bigger goals and things that we have that will definitely be great, but those achievements of the big things really are just such a small percentage of life. So I love that, you know, your advice is to switch from those big life things to the small everyday things. Before we kind of wrap up here, I wanted to ask you, what is the Goddess Diary and what is the Goddess Awakening experience?
The Goddess Diary, it's a planning tool I've created, which helped me incorporate in a day everything we are talking about. So there's a section for self-care. There's a section for priorities. What are the priorities of my day to keep me accountable and become more productive? Of course, is the calendar of my appointments and stuff. And then in the evening, I have my evening rituals to help me go back into my feminine energy. And I evaluate my day, I evaluate my week and my month. Basically, it's a planning / time management productivity tool. And it helps me stay on track. It helps me create the balance we were talking about. And yeah, I love it. And the women that they bought it, they love it. And it's amazing. And even if I say so.
Yeah, absolutely. And where can people get this?
The website is called thegoddessdiary.com.
Okay.
They can go, and it comes in 4 colors. And it's a 90-day journal / calendar / planner.
Awesome. I will place that link down below. And then what is the Goddess Awakening experience?
It's my coaching program. It's a 3-month coaching program that I take my ladies and my goddesses into a journey where they are, where they want to be, and how we bridge the gap.
Awesome. And I will place a link for that down below as well. Well, Penelope, this has been such an incredible conversation. I know that I've learned a lot. I'm sure the listeners have so many nuggets that they can sort through and start to apply into their lives. Is there any last thing that you'd want to share with the listeners? Maybe like a piece of advice that you got one time that was really impactful for you, or just a thought that you might want to leave with the listeners before we close out today?
Yeah, I would say believe in you. Even if it sounds so plain maybe and so cliche, the minute you decide to step up and make yourself your number one priority and not feel guilty about making yourself the number one priority, you will start seeing changes that you were craving for so long and they weren't happening. People will start appreciating you more because you appreciate yourself. They will start loving you more because you love yourself. So if you want to change your circumstances, to change things, start by believing in yourself and protecting yourself first.
That is a piece of advice that I think we could all have on repeat. Beautifully said. Thank you so much, Penelope, for being on today's show. To all of my listeners, thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to check out all of her links down below. Follow her on social media. Check out the Goddess Diary, the Goddess Awakening Experience, and connect with her via social if you guys would like to see more. If you guys enjoyed this podcast, please do us a favor and just text it to a friend, share it on your stories. You can tag both Penelope and the podcast page, Evolve with Emily Podcast. And without further ado, I will see you guys in the next episode. Have a great day, guys. Bye, Penelope.
Bye. Thank you.